you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do things right? Who of you want to truly succeed in attaining all in that which is your need? To be heard by the real answerer of all deeds, the true hero of all whom pleads. Who of you really want to bow down to the true King of Kings commanding the crown? To worship the one that ever rules alone, commanding everything of creation from the seat of its throne.
Philadelphia and New Jersey, we're going to continue with this conversation.
And what they'll do is they'll give you probation. Some states have it where you have a lifetime of that record being on your record, that charge being on your record. Some of them saying 10 years you can get it expunged, and then when 10 years come you can't get it expunged, they're saying 5 more years. And those is entrapments. You understand what I'm saying?
It's injustice.
So the whole thing is where people won't see the bigger picture is that they have it set up where they could keep you down.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And all that starts in school, in kindergarten. You know, when they, and they know what they're doing, bringing other races of people in to raise your children. And now we got multicultural cities in a lot of areas, but they know where the masses are and how that thing is situated. Right. And just like the SAT test for the children and stuff, man, I'm glad I didn't have to go through those things when I was in school. But those tests are geared towards another race of people, you know.
Right, the whole program of testing,
the whole setup,
structure of it.
Yeah, throughout the school system.
Right.
Was once
and our kids, our kids is like, I can't score no higher. I can't do it, and then they start feeling inferior.
Yeah.
You understand, because they go to the college with their friend that I had passed the SAT, and they see all these white people, and they like, oh, they all passed the SAT, but they started preparing them in first grade and on the way through college, where in the colleges in the urban area, I know for a fact because of my own children that they don't start preparing them for them SATs till they're a junior in college, in high school.
Well, I think we have a comment from one of our college students in the audience.
Yeah, I want to speak back to when I was in high school. They don't prepare you until you get into basically the grade before, and then they make you feel so terrible. I think I developed anxiety attacks and everything.
Yeah, and she was an A student. And she stayed on the dink. She was on the, what's they call that list? She's
an honor student.
Honor student. Yeah, and you know,
they make them feel, and it's the teachers.
And some of them don't come out of that psychological effect. You know, they be messed up for the rest of life. But look at this thing. How about some children feeling inferior, go to college, and then don't go out to get a job in the field that their parents have spent all this money for their college? Like, I know a guy who got a psychology degree, psychiatry degree, what have you, and he worked for the post office. Went through all that schooling, got them degrees, and work for the post office.
Yo, fat kid know about that.
And I got,
what's wrong with the post office?
Because I went to school and got all that 9th grade stuff and worked for the post office.
Right.
And so what sense does it make? You understand what I'm saying?
Right, that
inferiority complex.
Too, and I remember him telling me when he first told me that he had a degree in psychology.
Yeah.
And a very good school too.
It's
a very good school.
This conversation is real relevant to me because I got my degree in psychology and I'm working at a job that don't got nothing to do with my field, and it's because of a simple charge that I got.
The entrapment on you.
That it's like, yo, I got to get a pardon from the governor of Delaware in order to get this thing erased off my history. And it's like, something's my first offense for anything. I didn't even have possession of anything. I was in the car with somebody.
That had something. But because you were African American, you're guilty. If you was a Caucasian, you wouldn't have had that problem.
They'd have slapped your hand and said, okay, go home and be someone soon. You know what I'm saying? It's an entrapment.
Right.
And I'm telling you, we let people, like my children, I like when they go out and try to further their education and everything, but I'm no harder on them or no lighter on them than my children that haven't went to go to college, because the whole thing is I have one that has a bachelor's and can't get a job in her field, who's working at a department store. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not like
it's not just the recession.
It ain't the recession. It's the, again, an entrapment. You know what I'm saying? You pay into their system, and they don't give you no returns.
Well, I have a sister who has quite a few degrees, and one is a PhD in psychiatry and what have you. And one day I was speaking to her, and she got an attitude with me, and she said to me, "Who got the PhD?" And I just looked at her, and it made me feel not small but bad, because I just thought about how throughout her life I had helped her so much, and when it came to reasoning and the life lessons, she with her PhD had to call me up, you know, but she forgets, and she has an inferiority complex, which is really taking her out psychologically. She's messed up with a PhD. If you put your greatest interest, your greatest aim on this worldly education, this civil education, this civil law and order, and you don't turn to the divine, then you chance to mess your children up. And see, a lot of our people who came from poor backgrounds and no educational backgrounds, it didn't affect them, because everything they seen their children getting in school, to them that was better. It was more, you know. And then you got our leaders who are secondary in their minds, trying to act like they're not, but they know they are. They know they can't get into certain clubs. Just like Oprah went over to somewhere and she couldn't get in with all her millions of dollars. They didn't honor her. You understand? So, you know, they do it clear across the world, you know. But the psychological harm that comes with that, with our leaders making us think that that's the greatest aim. That's not the greatest aim, you know. Right now, if you take all these people up north with all their degrees, and this what we in, this depression, or what is recession, hit rock bottom, and they close all the Pathmark, ShopRite, Stop and Shop, food towns, you know, you name them. They close them up. No more trucks come in. With their PhDs, how they gonna survive? They'll be the first ripping their degrees off the wall, thinking it's a piece of meat. Huh? Chasing you down the street, trying to take a bite of you. Because you still got some burgers you done saved, and you smell like burgers. But I'm not saying education is bad, but what I'm saying is you should not misguide your children to think that that education is the education that the Lord L was talking about when it said the education, the success is in education. You know, seek knowledge, information from the cradle to the grave. You know, they wasn't talking about the history of mankind. They was talking about the reality of the Lord L. They was talking about the reality of life, the source of life, the source of power, the source of our being. You learn those things, you get the balance with that, and then you get everything else. And let's face it, psychiatry, psychology, mathematics, astrology, and numerology, science of all types, in the medical field and otherwise, all came from the divine words of the Lord. All came out of the divine books. All came from the divine commandments. We had one individual who many might know, Enoch, who was called Jehuti, and Idris, and Thoth, and
Isaac.
who?
Isaac.
Hermes. Trismegistus. Allah gave him the science of all these things I'm talking about. Mathematics and chemistry, and, you know, they learned from people like him how to crack the atom. You understand? And what they do with it? Make a bomb. and blow up people to kill them with it instead of to save lives. You know? Now, with divine education, you wouldn't do that. But with this worldly education, what do it lead you to? Seeking power and the destruction of other people to gain the land. Now let's look at this inferiority complex thing again. You have people who go on to athletics, right? And they in college. And they are great in their athletics. And they have promises of making millions of dollars. And sometimes they get to a point where they could leave school to make those millions of dollars. Now they in these life-threatening sports. And they say, well, I want to finish my education first. When they could go out and buy a college. Because of their inferiority complex, they don't realize that they can finish their education later. But they taking a chance on getting injured where they will not be able to collect that money and utilize it for the good of what their parents might have foresaw for them.
That's pretty basic too. Basic thinking.
Yeah, that's basic thinking.
That's basic thinking right there.
You know, and you have many of them do it, and then the powers that be pat them on the back and say, "Good student, good kid, good."
Good nigga.
Good nigga. but when it comes to some of those others, you hear the commentators, the media saying, "Oh, he should come on out. He can go back to school. He can finish if it's a Caucasian." Now, I hate talking about this here, man, but this is what's going on in our society. It's, you know. Now, let's look at this other thing, and then I'm gonna give the floor to you. They take Martin and make him our hero because he didn't fight back. But they want you to hate Elijah. And they get all the black niggas to hate Elijah. Because Elijah said a few simple words. And they keep saying that, well, he said the white man is the devil. The white man is the devil. We know the white man ain't the devil. Unless he's a doer evil to someone else. That makes him a devil. But we got devils in every race. But the white man was the devil to the African Americans and Native Americans. The damn devil. The greatest doer of evil against them. But that's not why they were angry with him. They were angry with him because he said fight back. How dare you tell the slaves to fight back? That's a problem. Forget the devil. He's telling them to fight us. So Malcolm comes, they got scared of Malcolm, they made sure they assassinated him. It made it appear like we assassinated him. Huh? Mm-hmm. Because he really was talking about fighting back. And they raised him up over Elijah to keep the people confused, not realizing that Elijah's words saved this man while he was in jail. He was a pimp. He ain't bring nothing good to the world. Huh? Running promiscuity. And they gonna make him a great man over the man that saved him. That are the one Allah used to save him. And try to make us look down on Elijah, talking about, oh, he had young wives, he had more than one wife he shouldn't have had in the United States of America, and blah, blah, blah. What about the divine law? The Lord said wives.
I told you mistress is more
appropriate for them.
For that society, right.
You know, do it the devil's way.
Mistress, children, and nobody know about nobody.
Right, and you don't have to be responsible for your children and for your mistresses.
What was right? That? Thomas Jefferson had a mistress for 20, 30 years, 37 years. A black mistress for 30-something years. Had
and
eight children with her, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but he wasn't the only one.
And he was,
but at least he treated her good.
Yeah. And everybody
at least he treated it good.
Knew about it. All his neighbors knew about it. It was just something that, like you said, that's what they all
but the neighbors was doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. They just wasn't Thomas Jefferson and it wasn't recorded in history.
That would
Come on, let's look at it. The children were the black women were like the cattle, like the cattle, like the pets. They were owned like the animals, and they weren't looked at like human beings in most cases. They put that we were 3/5 of a man, and they still ain't took it out. Talking about they amended. No, throw that job out the book, and put in the book, we are damn fools. We're liars. We're evil. Forgive us. They always doing it. Why you think you got so many people that's the opposite in their complexion than me and you? Amongst our people. Huh? Maybe they didn't touch yours.
Maybe they didn't touch
They ain't touch it either. And we some black folks.
No, they really, they make the rules, and it stays as is.
And that conspiracy stays as is. It remains the same.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always,
And it's a shame.
it's like who? It's not what you know, it's who you know. Like president before this one, Bush. They say he was a C student, but his father was president and set him up in politics, and he was the president of the United States.
Not only a C student, but a drunk.
Yeah.
He was an alcoholic, man. Came right into the presidency as a
And they
drunk.
stole it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they twice they took it, stole it. A bloodless coup. Now that won't go down in history, will it?
No.
And somebody's book is gonna go down. It's gonna be told, but in their history, they ain't telling that he did what they did. And then they tell you, Martin paved the way for us to vote, and honor that and be of that. Vote. Your vote is so important. That's like the mayor in Nook. They were so fast to want to get rid of the old mayor, who they had got accustomed to, said he was doing favors for his friends and what have you, and they wouldn't put a stranger up in there that looked like a Caucasian and acting like a Caucasian and doing them like the old Caucasians was doing them. We getting rid of you niggas. Huh? Getting them out of their homes, out of Newark, out of their jobs, even the civil service workers, getting them out of there. And then he's bragging about how he ain't gonna run no more. He done his job. Now they gonna move him up to bigger and better things.
He chasing that spot in Washington.
Yeah, well he didn't been his good house nigga, and he's done his thing, and he set things up, and now the people they sitting back. I remember guys used to come to me talking about, because they didn't know that I wasn't allowed to vote down there. And I didn't tell nobody my business, But they used to come, you gonna vote? And I said, oh, you should vote for him. And this is why we need to make a change. Same guys, man, lost their jobs, demoted, and everything. Really why you laughing there?
It's
well, why you laughing? Because I haven't seen any of them come and say, hey, man, you was right. Because I was telling them, and they ain't want to hear it. They just want to take the other mayor down, who I thought was a pretty good mayor.
Among other things, that goes back to, that influence of that teacher early in your life, that authority figure, that nice Miss Crabtree or whatever her name was. And I had some nice teachers that I do have fond memories of myself.
I don't know if I'd like Miss Crabtree, but I did have a couple, two that I really loved, and I think loved me as a child, because I didn't know to look for anything that was out of order. I was just a trusting child.
And that's how
by the time I got to the 3rd grade, I had a witch, man, and I recognized her racism, her injustice. I hated her. I couldn't believe that my parents would let her be a teacher over me. This woman attacked me, and tried to hurt me, man, one day. And
that sad part is, because I watched it with my own children, is that some children are groomed so well they don't even recognize racism.
Right, they don't.
I had a conversation with some of my children.
There's some newspaper columnists that claim they don't recognize racism.
Right, and the ones that don't recognize racism, when you go to them, if they become teachers and different people of authority, and they being African American, and you go to them, they'll dispute you and will not take up your claim,
right?
Because they have not experienced things that someone else have experienced.
Right.
So they be like, "Oh, that's not so," you know, and that's where that big division with our people come into play.
Yeah.
You know, we have some of our people that look real down on some of what they consider ghetto.
Well, we the greatest haters of ourselves.
You know?
That's why I was talking about Elijah. It was so easy for them to get millions of our people, tens of millions, of multiple millions of our people to hate Elijah, because Elijah said, fight back, love yourself, let's separate. Let's become our own people and be great, you know, unto ourselves and our Lord. They said hate him, and most of our people hate him. Most of them hate him for that, because they were told to hate him. You know, we the greatest haters of ourselves. How you gonna hate a man who's telling you to love yourself and fight your enemy?
And I know from personal experience that, you know, when you deal with older people of your relatives, they'll basically tell you to lay down and let somebody walk over.
My mother used to tell me
you need a job. Don't worry.
My mother used to tell me
So
that.
what? Just ignore them. It don't matter if they, you know, one time, you know, they ask you to put up with all this stuff because you need a job. But what about
your
your
soul? Yeah.
You know,
my mother used to always tell me to lay down when it came to those things, Caucasians and authority. My mother always, you know. And the thing about it, I never looked at my mother as being afraid of them, you know. I didn't think she was afraid of anyone. But I know she always came up in arms. I thought she was afraid for me, you know. And, but you know, in my heart of hearts, I'm not a racist. I have worked with Caucasians, Spanish people, you know, people of all races. And I am not a racist. I don't judge a person by their race or their nationality. I deal with a person on an individual basis and what I see of them. And there's some people, even amongst my people, I say, I got to stay away from that person there because that person's trouble. Or that person's hateful. Or that person's just down here. Let me stay back. But those who I've worked with, I found some beautiful people among all races of people. And I know I'm not a racist. I know that I'm not that, because I've been in positions of power where I would not hurt someone of another race. That's what makes you a racist. Being in a position to affect your ideas against somebody else because of their difference in race, and then you affect that. That's what makes you a racist. Oh, I'm prejudiced. I'm prejudiced when it comes to my food. I don't like meat that much. I'm prejudiced against it. You know? But see, people try to make prejudice seem like it's so wrong. Huh? When all prejudice is favoring something over another. What's wrong with favoring something over another? If I see my daughter and I smile at her and my heart get warm, my spirit fly, and I say, how you doing? She said, oh, I'm fine, Dad. And I said, all right, I'll talk to you later. And I see my associate's daughter, and I'm cold. Nothing comes out. How you doing, Mr. Salim? I'm fine. How you doing? Okay. But I feel nothing. I'm favoring my daughter. I'm not even looking into this other person to look for favor. You understand? Mm-hmm. So that's prejudice. How many people in the world talk about they not prejudiced, and then you see them and their partner is somebody that look like them? They got dogs that look like them. Huh? And they say, I'm not prejudiced. A lie. You even got a dog that look like you. And you see a lot of them with dogs that look just like them. That's prejudice. They chose the dog to look like them. Just like they choose their life mate that looks like you, more inclined to somebody that look like you, smell like you, got your spirit, think like you. That's prejudice. But racism, now that's something else. And that's bad. You know? That's bad.
I hope our dogs don't look like us.
Well, I don't be in love with my dogs like a lot of people, and so I don't gravitate towards dogs that look like me. But I was told I look more like the rodent, or somebody in the rodent family. So unless it's the raccoon dog that's in Australia, you know.
Totally possible on the lines of like being judgmental. Us being in the presence of you, the messenger of Allah in this day, like it's important for us to carry ourselves a certain way and not be out in the public, you know, acting in a different way that give people looking from the outside in the wrong impression about you.
Yeah, well, you know, I've been around for 31 years, man, and I can't even count the number of people that's done that to me, and it's the worst of them has been those who've been closest to me. They go out and they give false impressions about me. They carry themselves in ways that, you know, they know I wouldn't approve of. They say things and they do things that they know A.H.A.D wouldn't approve of, and then they allow people to think that, you know, I would do that. And we had a brother used to sit up here with us that was guilty of that. I had to get him off the show because of certain infractions, you know. And sad, but true. But it got so bad I couldn't act like I didn't know. You know, and everybody got their weaknesses and faults, you know. And I give people who working with me, they say they love Allah or love A.H.A.D, I give them a chance, you know. And I believe talk is one thing, but actions is another thing. You see, and I'm gonna look past your words. I'm gonna look right into the heart of your actions. You understand what I'm saying? And I only trust one thing in this world, and that's A.H.A.D. I don't trust myself. I trust A.H.A.D. because I don't know myself. And if A.H.A.D was to say, this is you, then what would I do? I'd go out there trying to figure some things out, right? Like I used to do before I was enlightened, trying to figure my own way. How can I trust that when A.H.A.D is the best knower and I know it's the best knower? You know?
So like the realization that what they said, Jesus said that the prophet, that the messenger is disrespected most. The people that's closest to him in his own town.
I didn't even know that they said that, but
and that's so
been my
true.
life. That's been my life.
That is so true. I mean, people go out there.
What a trial to take the messenger for granted. You have to imagine that had to happen throughout the number of messengers and their families and their
I
kids.
know from personal experience that people go out and they portray Holy Apostle to be one way, and they fabricate things in their own mind, and then they pass that on to other people. And instead of them trying to bring people to get to know the Holy Apostle, they have people sitting back
talking against
him, having opinions and what have you, based on their illusions,
right?
Because it is, you know, delusions. And
illusions and delusions, because they deluded to think, you know, something.
And then, you know, before you know it, you have this whole big snowball effect of things that is not true at all. You know, the messenger is here to give a message, you know, and what our listening audience hopefully understand by listening to the messenger, what you see is what you get of the messenger. The messenger is not trying to take anything from us. It's trying to give us what Allah wants it to give us to go with. You know, in turn, the messenger suffers much for trying to give A.H.A.D's message, because people is not willing to take this message and do what they need to do to better themselves and better other people around them. You know, so the messenger suffers much more than we could ever imagine. But in terms, people represent that they're suffering for being with the messenger. Okay, he gave us 1 minute.
If it's okay, we'd like to, maybe on our next show, we'll revisit this.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a part 2. So when you see me with my same clothes on, we sitting in the same position. We ain't going nowhere.
you want to do things right? To keep up with keeping your lives tight. Tight as in being right with the truth of true insight. Who of you want to do